How do you complete a traverse of Grey Wolf Ridge? This is a story for those of you interested in challenging hikes with some off-trail navigation. Each summer we like to do a few long day hikes involving high ridge lines, traverses, and preferably done in a loop. The Grey Wolf Ridge and the Olympic Mountains fit our criteria, so the planning began. We began studying the hike by looking at the Olympic Climber's Guide, which provided some insight into the route description, as well as hints on a few of challenging route finding places. We gathered up some topo maps, and on these we detailed our route the best we could and made notes on the map. This map shows the beginning of the hike, including the short trail section that we start on, and then the first peak that we climb up to, Baldy. Here's the second topo map that we utilized that details the second half of the ridgeline, as well as the Royal Basin Trail, which is our planned way out. We also utilized Google Images to provide some better imagery that the topo maps don't show, including where avalanches may have changed the topography of the terrain. After detailing our route, the packing began, and here are some of our essentials that we always pack, with extra sun gear because the weather looked nice and warm. And perhaps one of the greatest aspects of hiking is having good picnics, so here's some of the foods that we like to take, including almond butter, tortillas with dehydrated hummus, avocado, fruit, and trail mix. The last few items were packed, and one of the best things about hiking in the summer is we can fit everything we need in one big backpack, and then one person doesn't have to carry it, and in this case it was me. With our bags packed, we're ready to go and head out for our adventure off to the Olympic Peninsula and the Grey Wolf Ridge Royal Basin area. Our planned route is shown here. The red line is the off-trail section, and the black line is the Royal Basin Trail, which is how we plan to return. And we arrived to where we're hiking, and this is the first view we get at the hike after a really steep climb up an old fire line cut, with a nice view of the Olympics at the top here. A short climb later, and we have a nice view of Baldy, which is the first peak that we will summit on the ridgeline route. And a mandatory selfie for modern adventures. Heading along the ridge, we check the map and can see Baldy and Grey Wolf Mountain in the distance. From here, it looks as though it will be smooth sailing along the ridgeline. The top of Baldy provides a clear view of the next summit on our route, Grey Wolf Mountain, which is the tall, snow-free peak in the distance. One other spectacular view along the way of the northern Olympic Peninsula, the Straits of Juan de Fuca, and snowy Mount Baker in the background. After gazing at the views, we move along up the steep section of Grey Wolf Mountain. After the steep ascent, I was rather excited to reach the top of Grey Wolf Summit here. This was also our first picnic stop on our route. I thought it was going to be earlier, and when I realized we finally got one, I was very excited. Looking off into the snowy Olympic Mountains from the top of Grey Wolf Mountain. Matt and I again now sporting our full sun attire. It's getting pretty warm in the day. It's late in the afternoon. To help us stay on track, we also look back to check where we've come from and align our maps. And here we're looking northeast back to Grey Wolf Mountain. This is where the prior picture was taken looking back, and this is looking forward to where we're going. This is a little bit of a bowl here. We're not quite sure at this point how we're going to get over the cliff band. We're hoping there's a good route once we get up further. And it was very hot at this point in the day, so make sure you stay hydrated and drink a lot of water. We found a really good route up through the cliffs. It was actually pretty easy walking and not very steep. And this is coming down the other side toward our final descent. An aerial image showing in red our planned route down to the Black Trail, which is the Royal Basin Trail. The route finding on this section might be the most challenging of the whole hike. A view of the Needles and Mount Clark in the background before we begin our final descent. This is where the fun begins as we work our way down a steep treed section, trying to find the trail. Then we came out to a cliff, so we went around it, and now we are doing some tree rappelling down a really steep creek to get around the cliff. Lots of tree hugging involved. After finishing up the challenging creek rappel, we then opened up into a big avalanche debris field that required a lot of difficult maneuvering up and over really big logs and underneath them and crawling around. our actual descent route as shown from an aerial image through the avalanche path. And with 2020 hindsight, there is a better route down, which is shown here in blue, that avoids the avalanche debris and would be a better route when you complete this hike. After a couple hours of stumbling up and over the avalanche debris field, we landed right on the Royal Basin Trail, shown here in black, and made it out to the car. 9 hours and 30 minutes total. It was a wonderful day, and I hope you all want to go out and enjoy the trip on your own now.